we made it. We're not staying here. We're staying really close, but I thought it would make for a pretty picture. What do you think? A couple of days ago, I took my family over to Fogo Island and we caught the ferry. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about what that experience was like, because it may help you prepare if you're trying to get to Fogo Island. It takes a little bit of planning to get there. At the end of the video, I'm going to present some nuance that you need to consider, because there's no sort of hard and fast rules that you can follow to make this trip easy, but there's some guidelines to be aware of depending on when you're traveling, whether it's peak summer tourism season, whether it's the dead of winter, or sort of the shoulder season as they call it in September. Certain things to factor in to make sure that you can actually catch the ferry in a timely manner and enjoy your trip. So we're loading up the car here in Greens Pond. On our way to Fogo Island right now. We're going to go catch the ferry. We're giving ourselves a lot of time. We're going for a 3:15 sailing. If we miss that, there's another one scheduled for 3:45. So hopefully we can catch one of them. This town, Greens Pond, is worthy of much more than a quick little mention here. So look out for that full video when it's ready. I'm not just going to like say, oh yeah, we're in Greens Pond and off we go. No. This is going to get focused on. But this video here is about our journey from a relatively close location to the Fogo Island ferry, to sort of give you an idea of what to expect in terms of like timing. So I'm traveling with my wife, my 4-year-old, my 4-month-old. So it's been an interesting journey so far. We covered a lot of ground. This is stop 3 on this major road trip that we have planned. This little leg of the trip is reasonably quick. It should be about 2 hours to get from Greens Pond to the Fogo Island ferry at Farewell Bay. I do think there's going to be a two vessel sailing today though, so we'll see if that's right. Thought this seemed a little easier than it should have been. Just gonna do a little bit of rearranging here now. The starting point that you're looking at, just don't worry too much about that. We're in Greens Pond. We're in the Bonavista Vista North coast, Bonavista Vista Bay North. So it's just a big head start. If you come from St. John's, you have to factor in a lot more time for drive time. But this is not a video about total drive time. This is about the experience of actually getting to the ferry on time, what the wait would look like, which boat we're on. We're all ready to go. We're on a mission today. We're kind of blowing past Lumsden and Cape Friels and all the beaches, and it's a beautiful, warm, sunny day. This is not the way that I would normally recommend taking this drive. You should definitely take some time to check out the beaches. We've done that many times. My poor wife hasn't seen them, but my oldest son has. So we're just going to get to the ferry and deal with the beaches on a future trip. We used the guideline of arriving about 2 hours in advance that they say for the summer when there's a lot of people traveling to Fogo Island. The thing is, there's people living on Fogo Island that don't really get much of a priority in the ferry lineup. There's some things that people that live on the island can do to ensure they get off if they're trying to come to the mainland of the island of Newfoundland. The mainland of the island, I don't know what to call it, but actually getting on to Fogo Island, you just kind of have to line up with everybody else. And if you're doing that when there's a lot more travelers coming, that 2-hour guideline I think is going to be super important to heed. We just pulled up to the ferry lineup. No idea if we're going to get on at 3:15. We got here, it's 1:40 in the afternoon, so about an hour, a little more than an hour and a half before the next sailing. So hopefully we get on. If we don't, there's another one shortly after. Hopefully we get on that one. But we're in the sort of like the pre-lineup right now, so we don't know what's happening.
We got here in about 2 hours, a little over 2 hours, but we did take a pit stop around Victoria Cove to calm down a screaming baby and let someone else burn off some energy. So yeah, here we are. Hopefully we get on, keep you updated.
Messed up, you are. Got me singing like I'm Yoda. You is, we aren't good company to each other. Narrator of my dreams, make it make sense. On the outside, I don't seem like anything less. Will someone ever tag along for the ride? Trust my mama, you're no match for my bad.
So this is a very nice ferry. It's gotta be new. I don't know when it was built, but it definitely looks and feels new. Lots of space to sit, lots of outdoor space. I feel like the first time we came over here in 2021, this was the boat we took. Not positive, but couldn't be much older than that. It's about 4:35. We're at the main destination, not the final destination, but stopped at the cod jigger for my fish and chips. So it's the end of our journey for everything that matters. And we'll get to our place where we're staying probably about a half an hour from now. We're gonna wait for our food and take it back to our place. So we're staying in Joe Bat's Arm. Get there probably around 5 o'clock. So there's your day. It's actually very, very smooth. It's the off season. It's not as busy as it would be during the main parts of the summer. And we're in Fogo Island.
Couple of pretty important caveats to mention here. So we came at a pretty opportune time of year. So it's literally summer. It's summer for like another day or two. On the calendar it's summer. Still, weather feels great. It's a little cooler today than yesterday, but it's a super nice day. It's summer, all right? But school has started. The tourism season is definitely winding down. So there's fewer people coming for tourism, right? There's still a lot, but there's fewer for sure. And a lot of the businesses have adjusted their hours for the change in season, and things like that are noticeable here. So in terms of getting here on the ferry, we gave ourselves peak summer lead time. We didn't necessarily need it, right? The boat holds, I believe, 75 vehicles, depending on, of course, which types of vehicles are lining up, but it's an approximation of 75 vehicles. That's a lot of cars if it's all cars, all right? The ferries are still on their 2-vessel summer schedule for now, and I believe that changes early in October, if not the first, basically in a couple of weeks from now. That's going to change to a 1-vessel sailing. And last year when we came over in early October, and it was not only a 1-vessel sailing, but the main vessel was out for servicing. So it was a smaller vessel, so we did have to wait for quite a long time in October last year. So there is no normal, there's no predictable sort of procedure to follow when it comes to getting to Fogo Island on the ferry. What I'm talking about here is this trip in mid-September, how we got here, what our wait times were like. The ferry got here in about an hour. All that kind of stuff is the information that I'm sharing with you, but it can change based on so many different things. This summer, there was a lot of reports of vessels being taken out of service for servicing, things like that. So it was pretty chaotic for a big chunk of summer of 2024. That can happen at any time for any number of reasons. So these are all the things that I'm trying to put on the table for you so you can make your plan if you are trying to decide whether or not to come to Fogo Island. To answer the question, should you come to Fogo Island, the obvious answer is yes. This place is amazing, but it's hard to get here. If you know what to look for in terms of planning, that can help you figure out how much time you need to put aside for the drive from wherever you're starting from, for the wait at the ferry, which you're very unlikely to pull up to the ferry and drive right onto the boat under any circumstance. So it's really important for you to understand that. We managed to get on the bigger ferry, the Veteran, I believe is the bigger one. And it was a direct route, so it takes about an hour. If you get on the boat that takes you to Change Island, I believe one I just saw was the Astron. So Mr. Bodman, and yes, I'm calling you Mr. Bodman, I don't know if I'm supposed to call you Seb. I saw the Astron when I was coming across, and I thought it was your boat, and I almost had a heart attack because we just reconnected through these YouTube videos recently, and I thought it was another sign from Neil. I'm still taking it as another sign from Neil. Really, really cool to see a boat with the word Astron on the side of it sail by me when I was on my way over here. But I digress. There's another boat that does stop at Change Island, and that adds about a half an hour or so to the transit time. It checks in at Change Island, unloads, maybe loads some passengers and supplies and stuff, and then comes over to Fogo Island. So there's two possibilities that you might have in terms of which ferry you actually get on. So all logistics issues aside, if you're considering going to Fogo Island, I strongly, highly recommend going through with it. It's not the same as going to a lot of other sort of hot spots around Newfoundland, Bonavista, Twillingate, things like that, because you don't have control of access. You're at the mercy of a ferry that has issues, that well-known issues. It can be weather interruptions, there can be vessel servicing, there can be, for whatever reason, an influx of travelers on a particular run that prevents you from getting on the run that you want to be on. So many things that can happen. And now in a couple of weeks from now, the 2-vessel summer schedule changes to a 1-vessel schedule. And that's going to make it that much more difficult to make it a timely trip for you. But it is so worth the effort. The place is amazing. It really feels like no other place, even in Newfoundland. I've heard it called Newfoundland's Newfoundland, and just like Newfoundland in a greater sense, it's kind of difficult to get to, but so worth it if you can make it happen. You're going to require some patience, it's going to take some planning, and it's also going to take some luck. So if you're thinking about doing it, do it. Whether you're from Newfoundland or whether you're from anywhere else in the world and you're fascinated by the idea of this tiny community on the corner of the flat earth, go see the place, go experience the place.